I took my crush to a haunted escape room, hoping to use fear as an excuse to whimper and cling to him. But as soon as the lights dimmed and the background music started playing, that moment, he buried himself in my arms, screaming even louder than I did. I posted a photo of Lin Du clutching a life-sized Ultraman body pillow in the singles group chat. The next day, during the parent-teacher conference, he subtly called me out, saying some people didn't study hard when they were young and now all they can do is draw little characters fighting. Lin Du is not the kind of person you mess with when he has a grudge. He really holds it. But I refuse to take this lying down. If we're talking about childhood, who are we kidding? We're both as bad as each other. Neither of us was an angel. To put it simply, we are what you call childhood friends, a bond forged through endless mischief that dates way back to our school days. He was the undisputed heartthrob, fair skin, perfect basketball skills, and top-tier grades. Among a crowd of little potato boys, he stood out like a beacon, effortlessly capturing the hearts of hormone-fueled teenagers. Embarrassingly enough, I was once one of those smitten admirers. Later, we became desk mates and grew closer. In an effort to have something in common with him, I made it my mission to find out what he liked. It was both special and ordinary. He loved Ultraman. Determined to bridge the gap with my crush, I spent an entire week binge-watching the series, only to come to a startling conclusion: this stuff is way more exciting than any guy. But little did I know, this would actually become the turning point in our relationship. With a shared interest, our closeness skyrocketed overnight. It wasn't until he declared, "I think Ultraman Father is the coolest," that I furrowed my brows in disagreement. "Isn't Ultraman Tiga clearly cooler?" Lin Du paused, and I swear I saw the light fade from his eyes. He let out a disappointed snort. "So you're just another normie too?" Now I refused to let that slide. After that, he thought I was basic, and I thought he was blind. Our relationship shifted from a naive crush and being the object of affection to him ranting daily about Ultraman Father while I, without saying a word, secretly plotted how to become Lin Du's father. Believe it or not, I actually found a way. I accidentally discovered my talent for drawing and excitedly sketched a gorgeous portrait of Ultraman Tiga for Lin Du. His eyes gradually lit up, and I could clearly feel that in that moment, I had become the light in his eyes. I thought I had finally corrected his taste, but the next day, he brought over a 1-meter-long poster and asked me to recreate in a 4-sized version for him because he couldn't find a book cover with that design. Seriously, all those wolf dogs and puppy dogs out there should come meet the Lin, the veteran dog himself. Staring at his shameless face, I sank into memories and finally endured the agonizing 4-hour conference. Considering I've never seen a parent-teacher conference last that long, and factoring in how often Lin Du mentioned me during it, I've unilaterally decided this was his way of torturing me. Yet after it ended, he didn't let me go. Instead, he had the audacity to make me drive him home. His reason? He had no car to use. Fine. I'll accept it. Whose fault is it that I threw up in his car? I only have myself to blame. Yesterday was my first ever book signing. Surprisingly, even as a niche artist, I actually drew a huge crowd. I was signing diligently when the next item placed before me wasn't my comic book, it was a body pillow from my first commercial project. I was a bit stumped. Signing on this material wasn't easy. "Just sign here." As I was thinking how familiar the voice sounded, I looked up to see Lin Du smiling brightly at me. He rarely smiled so genuinely and innocently, which made me both wary and dazed. Seeing me stare straight at him, Lin Du raised an eyebrow. "Can't sign?" Of course. What are you doing here?" He may be a homebody, but he rarely comes to crowded places like this. When I asked, the light glinted off his glasses, making it hard to see his expression, but his voice was clear. "I said I'd never miss an important moment in your life." My signing pen paused. Something felt off. No way, Lin Du would never say something so human. Sure enough, he followed up with the rest. "Did you think I'd say that? This and that Ultraman merch over there, give them all to me for free. I'm out of here." Huh. I apologize for the brief moment of expectation I just had. As revenge, I snapped a photo of him picking out the body pillow and posted it in a singles group chat, warning everyone to beware of elite men who secretly have a thing for Ultraman. 2 minutes later, I got a private message from my mom. Calm and collected. "Where are you? Aren't you supposed to be on a blind date today?" Oops. The signing was a huge success. Afterward, a celebratory dinner naturally involved a few drinks. By the time I came to my senses, I was seeing double. What's going on? Did you learn shadow cloning behind my back? I'm mad. I stumbled toward my editor, ready to drink the night away with her, but an arm suddenly intercepted me mid-step. Who is it? Who's trying to sabotage me? Stop fooling around drunk. Let's go home. I couldn't make out the person, but the voice was all too familiar. I pouted and burst into tears. Ah, dog! Woo-woo. You came to pick me up. My head was fuzzy, and I have no idea how I ended up leaving with Lindu. The next thing I knew, we were outside. The cold wind blew, making my brain even mushier. My memory jumped again, and suddenly I was in his car. Hattie. I stared at his profile as he drove and started giggling. He probably found me amusing, as the corners of his lips lifted slightly. What are you laughing at? I let out a drunken hiccup. Ah, dog! Have I ever told you how good-looking you are? The lights outside flickered, and I noticed even the dimples by his mouth had appeared. That's rare. Ever since I discovered he had dimples, he's never let me poke them. Liquid courage surged through me, and I sneakily leaned closer. Dimples. Just then, we arrived at my building. He slammed on the brakes, and the seatbelt yanked me back hard. I felt even more wronged and started sobbing. Lindu visibly panicked and quickly leaned over. Did you bump yourself? I poked them. Seizing the opportunity, I cupped his face only to be confused. The dimples were gone. I pressed the corners of his lips but couldn't find the missing dimples anywhere. He hid them. His breath brushed against my face, tickling me slightly. I scratched my cheek but was caught off guard when he grabbed my hand. Lindu's throat moved, his eyelashes casting shadows over his eyes, the light within them shifting uncertainly. Ruo sang you, blurg. Even though I blacked out, thinking back, getting drunk and throwing up in his car as revenge seems exactly like something I'd do. I admit defeat. Lindu may be a dog, but he always comes through when it matters. My attempt to dodge the blind date backfired, and under my mom's wise guidance, the 100-person singles mixer turned into an exclusive one-on-one experience. The blind date was a young guy. After 10 minutes of awkward silence, he suggested going to an escape room. I just don't get some young people's logic these days. Are escape room and blind date really compatible? When we got there, we ran into another problem. Not enough people to start the game. So he excitedly suggested, I'll call a friend you call one too. I get it now. He might not love blind dates, but he definitely loves escape rooms. Who else could I call? Of course, it had to be Lindu. When I texted him about it, he only replied with 2 words. Beg me. I gritted my teeth so hard I could almost hear the click of buttons through my touchscreen. After a mix of threats, bribes, and relentless pestering, Lindu finally showed up 15 minutes later. He glanced at me, then at the blind date, and finally at the girl the blind date brought along, before bursting into laughter. At that moment, I wasn't too sure whether it was more awkward to stay there alone or to have him come over just to humiliate me. At the blind date's insistence, we picked a horror-themed room. As soon as we entered, the dim lighting and eerie music made me want to back out. I took a step back and accidentally stepped on something, followed by Lindu's sharp intake of breath. Are you trying to get back at me on purpose? I realized what I'd stepped on wasn't something creepy, it was his foot. I laughed awkwardly and didn't dare say another word. With over a decade of friendship between us, just as I understand him, he understands me too. Almost the moment I turned around, he knew exactly what I was thinking. Scared? I didn't dare answer. I was afraid he'd make fun of me. Honestly, this was my first time in a horror escape room. My adrenaline was through the roof, and I felt like I might bolt for the bathroom any second. The first half went surprisingly smoothly, but around the midway point, the NPC suddenly gave an order. I had to complete a solo task. Me. Can someone else do it? After being told no, I felt like sweat was about to pour from my eyes. To make things worse, the 2 youngsters were practically cheering on the chaos, urging me to hurry up and not hold up the game. Gritting my teeth, I was about to force myself to take the first step when Lindu took the walkie-talkie. Can someone accompany her? There was a brief silence on the other end before they agreed. In the darkness, I saw Lindu reach out his hand to me. Let's go. At that moment, I decided I'd call him Bodhisattva for the next 3 days. This was the first time we held hands. I'd always imagined that someone as dog-like as Lindu would have cold hands, but today proved me wrong. His hand was large, almost effortlessly enveloping mine, and it wasn't icy as I'd imagined. Instead, it radiated warmth. In this pitch-black escape room, He seemed to become my only source of light. The eerie, sinister music grew louder, and my nerves tightened. I could feel my palms sweating, but surprisingly, the usually petty Lin Du didn't complain. Instead, he held my hand even tighter. No way. Could it be? He's scared too. By the time we left the escape room, I was completely exhausted. If Lin Du hadn't been holding me up, I probably would have collapsed on the spot. The girl the blind date brought along kept winking at me. I didn't quite understand what she meant, but I clearly heard the blind date's words. Wasn't that fun? I'll invite you again next time. Thanks, but my body may have just escaped. My soul left on the spot, and your contact info is about to be deleted. When I got home, my mom called to ask how the blind date went. I said the blind date was great, but let's not do it again. After hanging up, I looked around my empty apartment and hesitated. Maybe I should go stay at my parents' place tonight? It's not for any other reason, I'm just genuinely scared. The trauma from that horror escape room will probably take me a week to recover from. Just then, someone knocked on the door. I jumped, nearly knocking over my water glass. Sneaking a peek through the peephole, I saw it was Lin Du. When I opened the door, he didn't even bother with pleasantries. Without so much as glancing at me, he swapped his shoes and walked right in, carrying a bunch of snacks. I thought about it and decided to forgive him since he didn't come empty-handed. Lin Du sprawled on the couch like he owned the place and tilted his chin at me. Find a movie to watch. I hesitated. Watching a movie together, isn't that inappropriate? He fell silent for a moment before asking me very seriously, are you an idiot? How dare he insult me? What do you want to watch? Anything. He yawned. Find something to help me sleep. I have work tomorrow, so he planned to stay over. It's kind of embarrassing, but even though we've never even held hands romantically, we've actually lived together before. I have my mom to thank for that. When I said I wanted to move out on my own, she was worried sick. It wasn't until Lin Du mentioned that the apartment below his was for rent that she immediately agreed, since we'd be living just floors apart. But of course, a mama's girl's solo living journey wouldn't go smoothly. After my mom stayed with me for a week, she forced Lin Du to come keep me company for another week. I said it wasn't appropriate for two single people of opposite genders to live together, but my mom said even if something happened, it wouldn't be you who's at a disadvantage. Alright then. Seems like my mom isn't just unconcerned, she's low-key hoping for something to happen. Lin Du has this habit of falling asleep within half an hour whenever he watches a movie. Sure enough, just 10 minutes into the film, his breathing grew heavy. I glanced over. Yep, he was already asleep. I swallowed hard, feeling conflicted. Alright, I'll be honest, I have ulterior motives toward him. I'm interested in his body. I recently took on an illustration project, and one of the requirements is that everything else can be a bit relaxed, but the abs absolutely have to be perfect. I've been agonizing over this for half a month. I haven't seen many men in my life, even fewer with defined abs. And those with truly great abs are even rarer. To put it simply, I've never seen a man's abs in person, except for Lin Du's. Back in school, he used to play basketball often. Whenever he lifted his shirt to wipe off sweat, those 8-pack abs would practically wave at me. Even though it's been years, his physique doesn't seem to have changed much, so he probably hasn't let them go soft, right? I pondered for a long time before finally extending my sinful hand. No ulterior motives, just helping him check if his abs are still there. Lin Du was wearing loungewear, which was already loose. I didn't even need to try hard with just a light flick. His shirt was lifted up. I swallowed hard again. I'm nervous, really. After all, us respectable women rarely get such opportunities. I glanced at Lin Du. He was sound asleep. So, tiptoeing but boldly, I leaned closer. This is why guys really need to be careful when they're out alone. Holding his shirt up, I felt tense and couldn't help but look up to confirm again. But this time, I unexpectedly met a pair of drowsy, half-open eyes. I froze completely. Lin Du looked utterly bewildered. He glanced at the fabric in my hand, then at my current position, and suddenly it dawned on him. You finally couldn't resist my good looks and decided to take advantage of me? Don't make it sound like I've been plotting this for ages. After my repeated explanations, he finally understood my purpose, and then his gaze turned somewhat pitying. Did you know that for most guys, when they're relaxed, their abs aren't that obvious? Sorry. I guess I'm just uncultured, but I still had to argue back. I just didn't expect you to be so average. He snorted coldly, turned over, and ignored me. Well, I lost both the person and the abs. As I mentioned earlier, it would take me a week to recover from the trauma of the escape room. So the next day, as soon as Lin Du got off work, he showed up at my door again, holding my paintbrush. I glanced at him, then at my sketchbook, then back at him, then back at my sketchbook. He finally couldn't take it anymore. Cheng Sangruo, if you have something to say, just say it. He. I immediately put on my most ingratiating smile. So, about this modeling thing, would you reconsider? Since I was asking for a favor, my tone was extra humble. Lin Du, of course, wouldn't miss this chance to assert his authority. Fine. But there's a condition. I knew nothing good in life comes free, but I held back and let him continue. Until you finished a project, you're responsible for all 3 of my daily meals. I was about to nod when something felt off. But don't you eat lunch in the cafeteria at work? Lin Du smiled warmly. Cafeteria food can't compare to the joy of being served. Excuse me. Are you even trying to hide your inhuman tendencies? This request, while a bit unreasonable, was still within my capabilities. Not to brag, but aside from my drawing skills, the only other thing I'm good at is cooking. It's just that I'm usually too lazy to show it off. As freelancers, our schedules are pretty irregular. I can't even remember the last time I saw the sun at 7 a.m. Thinking about it, if Lin Du isn't moved to tears by my meals, I might just flip the table on the spot. Since I woke up early, I wasn't really in the mood to eat. But Lin Du, the dog, disagreed. He put down his chopsticks and leaned back. If you don't eat, I won't eat. That means you didn't meet the requirement, so I won't model. Fine. I'll eat. Never thought I'd feel like I was eating under duress one day. Breakfast was manageable, but lunch was the real challenge. I had to deliver it to his school, and not just to the gate, all the way to his office. Doesn't the school care about outsiders? Is it really okay for me to just waltz in like this? When I got to the office, I realized he wasn't alone. There was also a pretty female teacher inside. Feeling awkward, I just wanted to drop off the food and leave. But Lin Du stopped me. You only brought 1 portion? Huh? Is it not enough for you? There it was again, that you're an idiot look in Lin Du's eyes. Even though he didn't say it out loud, I could tell. He was cursing me in his head. This guy is so hard to please. Stay here. With that, he walked out, leaving me alone in the room with the pretty teacher. I'm a bit socially anxious, so I sat at his desk and pretended to play on my phone. But I was actually texting him to complain. The pretty teacher was clearly curious about me and struck up a conversation within 2 minutes. So you're really his girlfriend? I was about to deny it, but I caught the word really in her question. Using my brand new brain, I decided not to deny it just yet. Do people at school often try to set him up? The pretty teacher nodded. Absolutely. But he always says he has a girlfriend, yet he's never shown her to us. We all thought he was just making it up. It clicked. Lin Du is really cunning. Now he gets free meals and gets to solidify the girlfriend story to avoid matchmaking, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Clearly, I'm the one helping him, but somehow I end up owing him a favor. So that reluctant act he put on earlier was totally fake, right? Still unaware that his scheme had been exposed, Lin Du rushed back, carrying a takeout box, and handed it to me without a word. Eat. He gave the order without any room for argument. Completely unaware of what was coming, I smiled mysteriously. Darling, you're so good to me. Lin Du stiffened, goosebumps visibly spreading across his face. He shot me a questioning look, and I replied with a you-know-what-I-mean glance before dropping the subject. Evening was the time for him to model for me. After hesitating for a while, I finally made a suggestion. Maybe we should eat after I finish drawing. Lin Du never holds back when he eats. If he overeats and his muscle definition gets blurry, I'd literally cry. Lin Du flashed his sinister little white teeth again. Are you looking down on me? No. I laughed nervously, afraid he'd back out, and quickly denied it. Only then did he close his mouth and snort. It's because you keep saying I'll eat later. I'll eat later all day. If I'm not mistaken, have you been eating only 1 meal a day for the past half-month? I wanted to deny it, but he was right. Then it hit me, something felt off. I fidgeted with my fingers, unsure about my guess, and slowly spoke up. So, did you make that request just to make sure I eat more? Lin Du froze completely. A few seconds later, his ears visibly turned red. He spoke slowly. Cheng Sangruo, don't use your tiny mind to speculate about my great behavior. Once again, I apologize for having any expectations of him. But at least he keeps his word. After tidying up, he obediently sat on the stool and let me arrange him however I wanted. Everything was perfect. Except, you're wearing too much clothing, I hinted euphemistically, only to be met with a glare. How much do your previous models take off? He asked this while lifting his shirt. My eyes were practically glued to his abs as I replied, silly. Oh, I've never had a live model before. Is that so? No wonder you're so clumsy. Even though he was insulting me, I could tell he seemed happy. I looked up and sure enough, those little dimples were back. Lin Du's sense of humor is truly baffling. He didn't disappoint my expectations. His muscle definition was absolutely stunning. Damn it! How come, even though we're both overworked office drones, he gets to have such a great physique? I cleared my throat. Could you lift your shirt a bit higher? For the sake of composition, I need to see a bit more. Lin Du was surprisingly cooperative and even took the initiative to ask, do you need me to pull it down a little too? My eyes lit up. Really? Of course not. T-esque. Stingy. But then his tone shifted. But you can feel the texture. What does that mean? Seeing me staying there blankly, he explained. It means you can touch them. A free pie falling from the sky. Bodhisattva. Afraid he'd change his mind, I quickly leaned in. Let me make this clear, I'm not taking advantage of you. Understanding muscle structure really does help me draw better lines. I carefully reached out and touched them. Without exaggeration, I felt sublimated. The moment I made contact, the muscles under my fingers twitched slightly before going still. Lin Du's voice came from above my head. Why did you call yourself my girlfriend at noon? His question reminded me that I'd forgotten to explain. Though it wasn't really an explanation, more like demanding answers. If you're going to use me as a shield, you should have told me first. I spoke confidently, only to be shut down by his rhetorical question. I didn't use you as a shield. Oh, so you think acting all calm and collected will let you weasel out of it? Don't pretend. That female teacher in your office told me you always say you have a girlfriend. Oh, he replied unhurriedly. Well, it's true I don't have a girlfriend, just someone I like. This time, it was my turn to freeze. I lost interest and kicked him out. I want he investigate and ethics responsibility you for secretly wanting to get into a relationship behind my back. But if you already have someone you like, you should follow proper male virtues. He opened his mouth to say something else, but I didn't want to hear it. The moment both his feet were out of my door, I locked it. I know my reaction was a bit over the top, but I just couldn't help it. I was embarrassing back in school, and I'm still pretty useless now. But can you blame me? Lin Du might be a bit of a dog, but with that devilishly handsome face parading in front of me all the time, who wouldn't cave? Yeah, I admitted I do have inappropriate feelings for him under the guise of friendship. The lead role in Despicable Me should have been played by me. Lin Du texted me, wanting to talk face to face, but I refused every time. I told him, have you ever thought that the reason the person you like want to be with you might be because I am always hanging around you? He was probably busy and hadn't replied to my message for a long time. I took this opportunity to tidy up my room. In the study, there was a locked drawer, and inside it were my secrets. I was feeling a bit sentimental. Opening the drawer, I pulled out a yellowed sketchbook. I rarely did sketches, and this book was almost my entire collection. From the initial clumsiness to later proficiency, the subject was always the same person, Lin Du. I had stayed by his side under the banner of friendship for too long, forgetting that a loner won't be single forever. I was pondering whether to burn or throw away the sketchbook when a voice suddenly came from behind. Why aren't you answering your phone? Startled, I almost threw the sketchbook. Turning around, I saw Lin Du leaning against the doorframe, frowning at me. I quickly hid the sketchbook behind my back, stammering, how did you get in? Lin Du dangled a key. Your mom gave me a spare a while ago. Worried you might forget yours. Mom, should I say you're easygoing? Or, Lin Du didn't dwell on that and returned to his previous question. Why aren't you answering your phone? I looked away. I told you. You need to avoid any appearance of impropriety now. Oh. He drew out the word meaningfully. Because I have someone I like. So you don't want to see me anymore. He concluded on his own. I felt something was off but couldn't find a way to refute it. I nodded gloomily. Looking up, I found he had somehow gotten closer. Sang Ruo, are you jealous? It was a question, but he stated it with certainty, as if he already knew the answer. I took a deep breath and glared back. Don't use your narrow mind to speculate on my grand actions. Lin Du chuckled softly, not seeming angry at all. You get angry without even asking, and you say you're not jealous. Why? Someone he likes? It definitely wouldn't be me. After 10 years together, I knew him too well. He complained about me incessantly every day. No matter how I analyzed it, it couldn't be me. If it's not me, then who it is doesn't matter. Seeing I didn't answer, he sighed, bent down, and met my eyes. I didn't want to say this so hastily, and I wasn't very confident. Were you thinking the same as me? But I felt if I didn't say it now, I might miss the chance. The implication in his words was obvious. For a moment, the sound of my own heartbeat drowned out his voice. Could it be what I'm thinking? No way. I nervously swallowed again. I always seemed to be swallowing when I faced him. Seeing I was finally willing to look him in the eye, Lin Du smiled, a faint dimple appearing at the corner of his mouth. I like you. I don't know when it started, but I found myself unconsciously caring about everything concerning you. Actually, I stopped liking Ultraman a long time ago, but because you were drawing them, I bought all the merchandise. I was the one who asked Zhang Yan to have you attend his parent-teacher meeting because you were busy meeting a deadline. And I hadn't seen you for half a month. For your first book signing, I went specifically for you. What I said then was true. I don't want to miss any important moment in your life. When I heard you were going on a blind date, I got a bit anxious. I even went to your mom and asked if she could put me on the list. But she told me not to rush, so I didn't dare make any other moves. As for being your model, I admit I knew you needed someone like that, so I started going to the gym half a month in advance. Every step was premeditated by me. So, are you willing to accept someone like me? And before he could finish, I was already sobbing. Hearing the end, I nodded repeatedly. Yes, I'm willing. I cried until I started hiccuping. Lin Du was stunned for a moment, then carefully pulled me into his embrace. Why are you crying so hard? How could I not cry when something I thought was hopeless for a lifetime suddenly came true? Crying, I asked. Then why didn't you tell me earlier? He also seemed helpless. Usually when you see me, you're either sarcastic or rolling your eyes. You're only a bit more docile when you're drunk. How could I take advantage of that? I looked up at him with red eyes, full of question marks. And you're blaming me now? Lin Du was speechless for a second. This isn't the time to argue about that, is it? Oh, I said dazedly. Haven't quite switched roles yet, sorry. He nodded, didn't say anything more, and pulled something from his pocket. The next moment, my finger felt cool. Lifting my hand, I stared in astonishment. What is this? He answered matter-of-factly. A ring. Didn't you just agree? I was a bit confused, unable to keep up with his pace. Didn't I agree to be your girlfriend? Lin Du pretended to be puzzled and furrowed his brow. When did I say be my girlfriend? I asked if you were willing to marry me. I was completely stunned. Lin Du immediately became alert. You're not going back on your word, are you? Breaking this innocent young man's heart? Oh, no, that's not it. But this is just too fast. Hearing me say it was fast, Lin Du strongly disagreed. 10 years? And it's fast. If it weren't for you being a blockhead, our kid could be running errands by now. Me? A blockhead? Hearing this made me angry. I directly opened the sketchbook and showed it to him. Here, a goo! Open your eyes wide right now and see who the real blind one was for these 10 years. Who the real blockhead was. He started flipping through the sketchbook, growing more and more shocked. So you liked me that early on? Then why didn't you say anything? I glared at him fiercely. Who liked you? I just thought you were a good subject for sketching practice before. Lin Du ignored me, still frowning as he flipped through the book. So, we both liked each other. Yet we dragged it out for 10 years for what? Hearing him say that, I realized. Yeah, we really did waste 10 years. He finally closed the sketchbook. Don't you think something is still missing from this? Missing what? I was puzzled. Impossible. I drew every stage of your life. How could something be missing? Hearing this, he smiled again. It's missing me getting married. Don't say that so naturally. My face really can't take any more heat. What followed happened naturally. When my mom arrived, I pulled him to stand in front of her. I was a bit awkward, but Lin Du was calm and confident. Auntie, I hope you'll give me the chance to take care of Sang Ruo for the rest of her life. My mom raised an eyebrow. Oh, not pretending or hiding anymore. I thought she meant we had been together long ago and hurried to explain. We weren't pretending or hiding. We just got together. My mom rolled her eyes. I still didn't understand, but Lin Du caught on first. Auntie, you knew all along? My mom gave a cold laugh, looking rather like a worldly master. Otherwise, with a young man and woman alone together. Do you think I'd be so at ease letting you interact like that? I thought I gave you enough chances, but you two were so unproductive, dragging it out for so many years. At that moment, a profound respect rose within me. As the ancients said, ginger is spicier when it's old. They didn't lie. Then why didn't you say anything before? My mom glared at me again. Wasn't I hinting enough? I almost tied you two together myself. I shrank my neck, not daring to speak. Lin Du also couldn't help but laugh. When it came to being foolish, We were truly a match. When Lin Du said he wanted to get our marriage certificate, my mom wasn't surprised at all. Then do it soon. Zhao Lin, that ring, you've been carrying it for 2 years, right? 2 years? I looked suspiciously at Lin Du. The tips of his ears were slightly red. He glanced at the ground unnaturally, his voice low. Auntie, how did you know? My mom pointed at him, exasperated. I saw you when you bought it. I thought I could marry off my daughter right away, but turns out you were just as unproductive. The three of us looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. Perhaps unable to accept how foolishly we'd wasted so much time, Lin Du was extremely efficient with the next steps. In less than a week, we had the red marriage certificates in hand. I held the certificate, turning it over and over, still feeling a bit like I was in a dream. Do you think this counts as a whirlwind marriage for us? Lin Du, who had been very happy, darkened at my words. This is still whirlwind? What? You want to drag it out for another 10 years? That wasn't what I meant, of course. I just felt like I'd pressed fast forward. We didn't even date properly. How did we end up married? I was still pondering this when we reached my doorstep. Turning around, I almost bumped into him. I looked at him, puzzled. Why are you following me? He dangled the things in his hand. Legally cohabitating. I understood immediately. My face instantly flushing. My speech becoming halting. Don't you need some time to adjust to the new status? He sighed, lowering his head to touch his forehead to mine. I've really waited too long, but if you really can't accept it right away, then I can endure a bit longer. After saying that, he turned to leave. I quickly grabbed the hem of his shirt. It's not that I can't accept it. His expression instantly cleared up. How could I not know this guy was using a bitter flesh strategy? It was the bitter flesh strategy plus the handsome man strategy. But honestly, who could resist? After entering, I wanted to say something, but he stopped my mouth first. Lin Du's lips turned out to be as warm as his hands. I also finally understood what he meant by waiting too long. The next day, I had a slight suspicion. I suspected he hadn't given his all when posing as my model, because his abs could clearly have been more defined. But I also confirmed one fact. Lin Du really is a dog. Who bites people like that? Lin Du hummed and hugged me from behind, asking why I wasn't sleeping more. I said, thanks for the invitation. I just got bitten by a dog. Can't sleep. We were being all lovey-dovey when the doorbell rang. I kicked Lin Du. He kissed me, then reluctantly went to open the door. Then I heard the commotion outside. Teacher? Why are you here? Oh no! I completely forgot about this. Zhang Yan's parents were away today and asked me to look after him. I hurriedly got dressed and went out. Zhang Yan's shocked gaze turned to me. Auntie? Ah, haha. You're here. Let me introduce. This is your uncle. Zhang Yan's mouth hung open from the moment he came in. This was my fault. I accidentally got married and hadn't had time to inform them yet. Zhang Yan looked dumbfoundedly at me, then at Lin Du. Just as I was wondering if the shock was too much, he dropped a bombshell. Auntie, didn't you say you'd never get a dog in your life? I gasped sharply. Under Lin Du's confused gaze, I swiftly sealed Zhang Yan's throat. Got one, got one. I'm a dog lover now. Zhang Yan had no idea why a goo was called a goo, but he found out soon enough. 2 minutes later, he was thrown out along with his bag by Lin Du, sent upstairs to his own apartment, and I reluctantly had to make a sign to post on the door. Beware of the dog inside. I love him very much. Dogs are man's best friend. But Lin Du might not be. The end.